What about physical health? Impact of mental health issues on physical health.
Now that we have enough sort of evidence to say that mental health issues can affect physical health. So if you have a physical condition, if you're stressed, if your mental health is not okay, then your recovery from that physical health can be reduced. There are many mental health issues which manifest as physical symptoms. So you talked about feeling low, but sometimes uh, feeling very anxious or depressed may come out as aches and pains in some specific parts of the body, because so physical symptoms could be a manifestation, or as a result of long standing mental health difficulties. Also, some physical conditions, chronic physical conditions like diabetes, hypertension, cancer, and many other physical conditions are linked with depression and anxiety also. So they're really closely linked. One of the areas that I work in pregnancy and postpartum, if a mother is depressed or anxious during pregnancy, that can affect the physical growth of the baby also. So, physical health and mental health go hand in hand, and one cannot be overlooked when you're looking after the other.
Doctor, can it be the other way around? Like, for example, right now in the situation of pandemic, can the physical health affect the mental health? I'm sure that is very relative in the sense, particularly with cancer patients, when the physical health is deteriorating, their mental health also deteriorates. So, in the current scenario, even though you are healthy, you're fine, this closed feeling of being claustrophobic or being closed, can that have an effect on your mental health and your physical health?
Absolutely. Definitely, it can have an effect. So, there are the things that we are all experiencing, and more so the young adults, the teens. So, the primary, what do you say, the requirement for teenagers is to interact with their peers. That is
Yes.
like a necessity for teenage growth, right? You need to interact, you need to compare, you need to figure out where you fit in, and that is completely lost, or it is just online on a very artificial, not artificial, but a very different kind of medium now. So just the isolation from peers itself can affect the mental health. That's one thing. And physical mobility has completely gone down for all of us.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
for teens, especially, lack of physical activity can impact on mental health. Also, the kind of food we are eating, they're more likely to kind of junk on things at home. They're more likely to order in. So the kind of food we eat affects our physical health and directly affects our mental health also. Another thing that a lot of teenagers have complained to us, or mentioned to us, is they don't have privacy now. So if they were previously seeking, say, help from a counselor, they are not able to talk freely because they are closed in. They are living with their family members. They don't feel like they can share things freely because they're worried that others might hear. So the pandemic is definitely impacted on the physical health and on the mental health of teenagers.
Okay. Uh, because you mentioned the pandemic, most of the teens, irrespective of being a pandemic or not, they try to take their last resort is a social media in the sense to escape from this mental health issue, and particularly because of the lockdown, social media has become a safe haven, or it is a space which is considered to be their own, where no one will peep inside. So. Does social media actually have an effect in the sense, does it have an adverse effect or a positive effect on the teens, in particularly in such a kind of a situation where they find a safe haven in the social media? Does that have an adverse effect?
So I would say that the social media probably as a start has been a very useful medium, especially during the pandemic, right? But if it becomes a point of complete dependency, then it can have an adverse effect, right?
Like
So
an
like
addiction?
how an addiction, or a place which is sought after to an exclusion of everything else, just like
Okay.
how you interact with your peers in outside social media, where you need to maintain a healthy balance. You need to make sure that no one exploits you, or takes advantage of you unnecessarily, or no one bullies you. So that interaction is a little bit easier to notice when you're face to face with people. If someone is bullying you, it's very clear they're bullying you. But in
Yeah.
social media, it can be a little bit more difficult. You the who you're interacting with is only determined by their persona that they're putting up online.
Yes.
So you may go in expecting a safe haven. You may get a very good safe space to interact and explore. And then something might affect someone somewhere else and they might take it out in that space. So you need to use social media exactly like you would use any other social groups outside of the internet, right? So if you're hanging out with your, chemistry classmates or whatever, and if someone is not very nice, you keep a little distance because you know that that person, bullies you. So the same thing with social media as well. I think it's finding the right group and standing up for yourself, not allowing people to bully you, not being taken advantage of, finding a voice to speak up, all those things that we learn in our peer interactions when we are meeting face to face. If you're able to do that on social media, then that's better, right? Then you'll handle it well and take advantage of it rather than it becoming a problem.
Okay. Okay. So, does drugs and substance abuse have an effect on mental health?
Absolutely. And I know that this is something that I'm constantly arguing with my young patients or my, the young children of my friends and family members, is that if something, and this is not to do with only drugs, but if something is going to make you feel different, that means
Mhm.
it's affecting your body somehow, right? Whether it's a nice feeling or not a nice feeling. So
Mhm.
if, marijuana relaxes you, that means it's actually acting on some parts of your brain, and so it's making some changes, and which means that you have to be cautious of what those changes are, and you need to know that how much you smoke and what changes it does. So definitely drugs affect the brain, and adversely, and there are some people who may be robust enough to not have a very serious issue when they use drugs recreationally. But a lot of people have difficulties coming off them, have actually exacerbation of an underlying mental illness when they take some drugs. Or they might have overcome something like a trauma or some other difficulties. And when they tried drugs, it all came back again. Right. So
Okay.
definitely it has an impact on the mental health.
Okay. So, do you have any tips or any kind of a routine which we can follow to have a stable mental health, especially in the stressful times we are in? Do you have any?
Yeah, well, I have the usual tips and strategies that probably everyone is saying, have a routine, even if you're stuck at home. What I would say is that, I mean, now that this is like a second wave we are going through, right? But if we are able to go back to what used to work for us as a baseline. So let's say before we went to lockdown, or even when we came back out of lockdown the last time, what actually started working for us, and to go back to things that are comforting. So don't reinvent the wheel completely and say, okay, I'm going to try a fantastic new routine, but say,
Mhm.
what was my routine that used to help me? If you're getting up usually at 8 o'clock, don't suddenly make a plan of saying 6 o'clock in the morning and exercise. So even in the routine, find something that you are comfortable with, that you're more likely to stick it out. And always doing it with buddies and friends is useful. So if you're planning to exercise, then do it online with a group of friends, so that you can kind of pull each other out of bed and say, come on, it's time to exercise, rather than trying to do it on your own, so that your social interaction also increases. Also, other things that you can do online socially with each other, the more you're able to do fun things online, that's very useful. Also with the use of internet, I mean, I think this is probably another advantage of having dedicated sites where you can watch stuff, right? Like Netflix or Amazon or all the kind of social streaming sites. I think it's useful to go to the computer with a purpose rather than have it on and browse, right? So using the internet with a purpose and saying, okay, from now 2 hours I'm going to just binge watch something, and then putting a stop to it, rather than just switching it on and letting something just scroll by you. Before you know it, 3 4 hours are gone. So I think
Yeah.
purposeful use of the internet is a good strategy to try during this
Okay.
time, and
Mhm.
actively seeking out things that you want to. Even if you decide, okay, I'm going to watch this serial, I'm going to watch this news, rather than letting information just flood to you, because a lot of it is driven by algorithms of what is popular but may not be very healthy for you, right?
Yeah.
So purposefully seeking things out that you find engaging, you find relaxing, that is going to help you, rather than just following a routine that because everyone says you have to follow a routine.
Okay.
Um, yeah.
Okay. So, is there any helpline? or a hotline, so that we, if at all anyone requires any help, can is there any access to an expert? If so, how can I get it?
Yeah. So there are quite a few helplines that have come up recently. And I would be a little bit cautious of trying all of them because some of them have just been started and they may not last very long. They were only there to set up the COVID increased pressure. But there is a helpline for Bangalore. I mean, it's a national helpline now, but it's run by Parivartan Counseling Center. They have a helpline, and we'll share the numbers with you. There is a Mumbai-based helpline called iCall, which is also a very good helpline. And these helplines are, you don't have to wait to call them only if you're severely unwell or severely distressed. If you just feel like talking to someone, you feel like, okay, I don't know what's going on. I'm feeling like I can't share this with any of my friends. So just talking to someone actually can reduce your distress. So this is a well-proven kind of thing that sharing, like if I'm feeling something, if I share it, it reduces the intensity of it. Then you can sort of clear your head a little and figure out what to do. So calling someone who is neutral, objective, and trained can be quite helpful, at least for the short term. And then you can sort of talk to them and say, okay, what do you think? Does this need more? Should I be seeking specialist help for this? So helpline can be very useful, first port of call to figure out if you need more or not.
Okay.
So I'll share these helplines with you. There are quite a few good ones that are trustworthy.
Okay. Thank you, doctor. It was really enriching. And thank you for your valuable time. We had a very good session. And I'm sure we could understand a little bit about mental health better than what we used to know. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Subscribe to our channel and don't forget to hit the bell icon.